It's the difference in humidity. Humidity is the difference. Well, I guess I get to give us a quick introduction. Thank you all. Tonight is it's the meeting of the Rotary Club of Motorcycling Rotarians. I can get that out, and so can you. I'd like to thank you all for attending. We're going to start with Happy Bucks. I will for putting it into video. I am officially moving to Phoenix, and I will get here probably in the next in the next 90 days. And my life is chaos. My house is absolute chaos. And this is when you find all the things that you've been just sticking in closets and thinking, oh, it's fine. Yeah, that's what my life looks like right now. Um, but everything is coming together and we're really very excited about it. And aside from that, that's my happy buck. What happy bucks do you guys have? Anything good? I wish you could all see your faces.
We had like I'll make one. I'm happy for the 70 some degree change that we've had over the last 24 hours here.
Oh,
it
what's the
was
weather doing?
well, not 70, 40 some degrees. It was 30 degrees when we woke up yesterday morning. And it's 70 right now.
Yeah, if you could send that east, I'd appreciate it because it was 34 when I went to work this morning.
The- You must have sent your weather here. So we just went down to 50s
No,
in
we're gonna need you
Sacramento.
to
It's been raining.
keep that on the West Coast. Jerry, you can push your stuff east. That's great.
I try to push it north where it belongs. I talk every other day or a couple times a week anyway. I chat with people in Kenya and they talk to me about how it's freezing cold there. And their idea of freezing cold is in the upper 60s and rainy. And they're wearing parkas at that point.
We always thought that was really funny when we would come out to Las Vegas in the winter and we're like, oh, it's a beautiful day. It's, 40, 50 degrees, whatever, and they're like bundled up. You see people in like big puffy jackets, and you're like, why? It's beautiful out. And yeah, being from the Midwest, definitely the upper Midwest at that, yeah, definitely kind of jaded us on the weather. And that's going to be the interesting shift. Once again, certain things aren't cold or hot to me anymore, and I don't know if I need to be concerned about that. But I am going to turn this over to Gerry at this point and ask him to introduce our fabulous speaker today.
Huh, how about that? Well, this is my wife, Debbie. Okay. Some of you actually have met her in person. About half the group here, I think. Oh, a little more than that. George and Ward, I think, are the only ones that haven't actually met Debbie in person. But anyway, Debbie has been into the Monarch Butterfly since she was about 10, 8, 9, 10 years old. And so she's been doing Rotary programs here forever. I've been saving her for some time for when I was in a hurt for needing a program. And so she does, I don't know, 3, 4 of them a year for Rotary clubs around here. There's even a couple clubs that have her come back every year, once a year for stuff. And she's done everything from gardening to birds to butterflies. And once in a while, she even talks about the monarch butterfly, her passion. So, I am proud of her with some of the stuff she does, although it gets quite annoying when you do it when you have 1,000 of these little caterpillars sitting across our dining room table in the summertime. But anyway, uh, my wife Debbie, you need me to come up and get you started, Deb?
I hope not. Wanted to say hi. Yes, we're gonna focus today on gardening for wildlife. There will be some slides regarding the monarch just because I have them in stock and I don't have a lot of other samples, but I have some. And I hope to impress with you why these funny little icky critters are important in our world. And I'm going to see if I can get this PowerPoint started, or I'm going to have to call my husband and have him run upstairs. I'm on the first floor. He's in the basement. You know, trolls live in the basement, right?
Jeez.
That's where he's at. Okay, here we're going. Here's my window. And let's see if I can get this started from the beginning. Come on, wake up. Oh, okay.
You're doing fine.
There we go. There we go. Okay. So this is actually the beginning here we set up. We're going to talk about gardening for nature. Also, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to interrupt. Okay. Um, Trying to do the questions at the end. It makes more sense to do it on the particular side that we have at that moment. Okay. All right, so this particular critter here, is a monarch butterfly. This one happens to be a male. And this is just one of those pictures I took years ago. Going back to basic biology of insects, we're basically today going to cover insects and why they are important in nature. First of all, a butterfly will lay a very small egg. For the monarch, it takes 4 days for it to develop, and it chews its way out of its eggshell. And then it grows for 2 weeks from something about 1.5 millimeters in size up to nearly 2 inches in size. It increases its body weight by 3,000 times. Proportionally, if you were to have a 7-pound baby, the dimensional human change would be a 7-pound baby after 2 weeks would be the size of a school bus. So it's a good thing we're not bugs because our houses would be way too big. This particular creature only eats milkweed. After it consumes its milkweed leaves and has grown for a couple weeks, or whatever caterpillars out there is going to eat whatever leaf it's adapted to, it will then go into the pupa stage. For butterflies, that's a chrysalis. Specifically, a chrysalis is a butterfly pupa. Moths make pupa as well as the stage of metamorphosis between larva and adult. Many moths spin a sleeping bag of silk around themselves called a cocoon. Many moths don't do this. Some of them just pupate in the soil. So the cocoons are only related to moths. And butterflies, by the way, are a subspecies of moths. For every one butterfly species out there, there's 40 species of moths. This particular bug lives 5 to 6 weeks in the summertime, reproducing, making babies. When the group that migrates in August, they live up to 9 months. They'll leave your area, even Canada, in early August, fly through the States, go into Mexico, hang out in Mexico till first, second week of March, and then return back to the southern states. And that stretch could be as long as 9 months. Why is it they live so long? They're not having babies. Having babies and reproducing takes all the energy out of them and they quit. So all Lepidoptera nectar, well, no, that's not true. Many butterflies do drink nectar. Many moths don't. They don't even have mouth parts. They only purpose is to breed and lay eggs for the next generation. The reason these are so important is that 95% of our birds in North America raise their young on bugs, even the seed-eating birds. Little baby birds cannot consume seeds, but think of a caterpillar as a hot dog, a sausage. It's squishy, it's full of protein, it converts the energy of the sun in the leaves to a protein source, and protein is what makes birds grow fast. Protein is what makes mammals grow fast. That is the impetus, is the protein stock of the caterpillars. Sadly, a lot of our bird populations are down because of the insect crops are down. The numbers are down for a variety of reasons. This little video here, are you familiar with purple coneflower, echinacea? People might have this in their yards. I have a video. This is at our front walk, and I want you to take a look in the middle of the screen right in here. Can you see my pointer? Okay,
Yes.
great. Keep a focus on that. There is a young goldfinch eating the dead seed heads of this purple coneflower. This is why I don't cut them until springtime. This is bird food, the old flower heads and things. I know it's not attractive to leave them out there all winter, but they create important habitat. that little bird would be starving without that food source. By the way, this was in October. Those seed heads by December were completely annihilated. I probably could have cut them then, except they have another function. All right, let's go on to the next point. So in the springtime, do any of you have bird feeders in your yard? Sunflower seeds, millet, suet, all that other stuff. This shocked me the first time I heard it. There's an entomologist, Dr. So I can't think of his head. He's putting forth a movement. He's an entomologist at University of Delaware, and he sat and researched, seeing that one chickadee needs 2,000 caterpillars to go from hatchling to fledgling. And fledgling is only when they can fly a little bit at 16 days. So in 2.5 weeks, the mom and dad work from 6 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. I calculated that out. That's about one caterpillar every 11 minutes to get chickadees to be able to grow enough to fly out of the nest at 2.5 weeks. The parents continue to feed them on the ground for a while, but if it takes 2,000 caterpillars for one chickadee, imagine how many caterpillars it would take for a big bird like a blue jay or a cardinal or something. And yeah, you think, okay, well, blue jays eat seeds, cardinals eat seeds. Yes, they do as adults, but not the babies. The babies need that soft, squishy caterpillar or grasshoppers or spiders or whatnot. But caterpillars are their biggest force. Years ago, before United States was developed very much, we had a lot of wild places like this. Now, a lot of our places in the wild look like fields or landscaped yards. And lawn doesn't really provide a lot of habitat or food sources for the critters. For the monarch butterfly, especially, this heavy green section indicates the density of corn planting. And with the more corn planting, that's taking away habitat. The large vertical red oval is the main repopulation from the butterflies coming back from Mexico. They lay eggs in that central area in the red oval. And then those caterpillars, taking a month to grow up, they continue flying northeast and east and into the Canada landscape. Most of the summer butterflies of monarchs are concentrated in that yellow circle in the summertime. That's when the populations grow all summertime. But that being corn crops, that's a big problem for the monarch population in particular, because a lot of crop land is no longer habitat land for them. And this is an easier scale to see. 50% of the overwintering monarchs that go to Mexico come from that dark gray area. The bulk of it comes from the lighter gray area inside that dotted line. One of the biggest problems in this area, you can see the increase of years 2000 to 2014. I wish I could get a map of current, but this is the use of a pesticide, a systemic pesticide. I'm going to see if I can say it, imidacloprid. It is called a neonicotinoid. It's in the class of neonicotinoids, which are a derivative of tobacco, safe for humans to eat, but it disrupts the digestive tract of the caterpillars and they die. Without the caterpillars, you won't have birds. And you can see when you're creating more and more pesticides, which are going to kill the caterpillars, there's going to be less available food for the birds. And that includes pheasants. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but Iowa, where Gerry and I originate from, is a huge pheasant hunting ground. You don't have bugs for those pheasants to feed their babies. There's not going to be very many pheasants. One of the things to watch for this neonicotinoid, you can see on this label, I found this at a local nursery. You have, this was actually Home Depot in a town nearby, treated with neonicotinoids. And what this systemic pesticide does is infiltrate every cell of the plant, the nectar, the flower, the stem, the leaf. Anything bitten by a caterpillar or an insect in general will die. And these were, thank goodness these ones were labeled. I did not buy them because now these flowers, any bee that would be coming in would be sucking up poison. They think that neonicotinoids, or neonics for short, possibly is causing some sort of brain damage. You've heard of the colony collapse disorder. There's some thought that the colony collapse disorder is due to the brains of the bees be affected by the pesticides. They can't return back to the nest. And if they don't go back to the nest and feed the young and bring back pollen, the whole colony is going to just falter. I was at a symposium in June last year, and I'm stealing a couple of slides from the professor, the PhD entomologist. She was studying insecticides to see if they do harm bees, birds, insects, and basically, yes, they do. I'm going to read this. You can read along. The primary drivers affecting the health of two North America migratory populations. We're just going to say the monarch migration population is degradation of habitat. There isn't any place for them to live. Conversions of grasslands to agriculture, again, degradation of habitat. Widespread use of herbicides and drought and continued exposure to insecticides. One thing that she pointed out, which is really interesting, is that when they're doing studies of the effects of the insecticides on bugs, they're usually studying one insecticide at a time. However, the usage of insecticides are usually done in combination, where they'll have one, two, a cocktail of 3 or 4 together. And with so many insecticides out there, it's very difficult to pool which insecticides are more, which grouping of insecticides are more deviant than others. So it might be that one insecticide causes a 1 out of a million chance of problem, but when you combine them with 2 or 3 others, it devastates it. Are you guys seeing my screen turn black and white or just going off? Okay.
You did see it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I'm supposed to get a computer upgrade. Maybe we'll do that sooner. Another reason we're worried about the insects is, butterflies are not big pollinators. Bees are our workhorses when it comes to pollination. This slide makes my stomach just fall. With the pollination of bees, you have all of the tree crops, pears, peaches, apples, cherries, and so forth. Oranges, lemons, all the berries are created from pollination. Blueberries, raspberries, all the berries, mangoes, bananas. The only thing that and most of our vegetables, all of our squashes are created by pollination. Bumblebees especially are important to pollinate squashes and tomato plants. Without pollination, sorry, my dog's going crazy. There's a squirrel on the front porch. Without pollination, the only real fruit we'll have is pineapple. Can you imagine no cherry pie? No pumpkins? None. Nothing without pollination. We'll be a few vegetables. Corn is actually the seeds of a grass. So we'll have corn, we'll have potatoes, we'll have a little bit of lettuce, but no cucumbers, no zucchini. It would seriously be a hardship without the bees. And yes, I know a lot about monarchs, but bees are really our workhorses for our food sources. This actually does happen, friends. This lady in China, there was a spot in China where they used so many insecticides that they killed all the bees. I was doing a Rotary program in Warren about 8 years ago. And after I did this presentation, he said, yeah, this happened in Afghanistan. He was a soldier in Afghanistan, and Saddam Hussein had sprayed so many pesticides in the landscape that the area that he was in, there were no honeybees. They had no honey. And the Middle East, being the land of milk and honey, and mead, all of these products coming from honey, there was no honey because too many insecticides were done. This lady is holding a small scope in one hand and using a paintbrush on the other hand to hand pollinate. Can you imagine this happening in the United States? Apple trees? Somebody getting up on a ladder and hand pollinating all the flowers? It seems like science fiction, but it actually does happen. We have a huge decline of bugs. And again, bugs are food for the whole network of critters, our frogs, snakes, birds. Even if you don't like them, I don't like a lot of these creatures myself, but that doesn't mean I have the right to decimate them. They're just the global collapse of our basic food sources is a real thing. However, we do have some good news. I just saw a report yesterday saying in the United States, the CRP or Crop Restoration Project is going to help pay farmers to restore prairie along the sides of the crops, between the crop and the roadsides. These prairie strips increase pollinator and also increase predators, and the predators can go into the crops and kill the pests that are damaging the crops and reducing crop control. There's a big thing of GMO seeds, GMO, genetically modified organism, is a seed that's been changed in the DNA. Non-GMO is our original seeds. The GMO seeds many of them have been altered so that the plant can tolerate the use of Roundup. And where this became a thing back in 1996, genetically modified corn and soy were approved to be sold to farmers. The farmer was ecstatic. He could then put soybeans in the soil, spray the cropland with an herbicide with Roundup. The soy was not affected. It was genetically modified to resist the Roundup, and it did not die at all. However, velvet leaf, foxglove, milkweed, a lot of these other plants did die. Now, today you have heard that Roundup or glyphosate is possible. There's lawsuits now against Monsanto and Bayer. Monsanto originated this and they sold this product to Bayer Corporation. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and leukemias are being traced to glyphosate use. Sadly, all of us have glyphosate in our systems. There's glyphosate in mother's milk. Babies get it from the inception. And a lot of times it takes 10 to 15 years for this to show up. Many farmers are becoming really sick. This is a serious problem. Some farmers are getting away from it, though. They're going back to the original farming, the kind of farm that Gerry's dad did back before 1995, where the crops didn't have these resources. Yes, there was weeds and stuff, but you know, life is meant to be a challenge, right? There's things that you can do, and this does not need to be very, very difficult for you to help out. Creating a pollinator garden. No, this isn't my yard, but what I do love about this is that look at all these flowers in here. They're blooming at different times. This red one up here is called bee balm. It's a wonderful nectar source. Bee balm is wonderful. Hummingbirds come and use bee balm. Hummingbird moths, butterflies, bees. All these flat top flowers in here are perfect resting spots for a butterfly to come in and eat, and moths. And remember I said before, for every one butterfly species, there's 40 moth species. So basically our birds are consuming moth caterpillars to get those young going. An oak tree provides over 500 species of moths and butterflies in their caterpillars. Caterpillars are specialists. They eat oftentimes one type of family of plants. I'm going to give you some examples in a moment. Some 10% of them are generalists that can eat a whole variety of plants. But for an oak tree to provide 500 different types of food, the food source for 500 different types of caterpillars, that is a buffet for the birds. You're going to have nuthatches, chickadees, cardinals, all swarming to your oak tree to get caterpillars. When you plant ginkgos and Callery pears or Bradford pears, Norway pines, Norway maples, Japanese red maples in your yard. These trees from foreign entities are not adapted to have the chemical base that the critters in North America can consume. They will avoid those plants and there won't be any. They don't provide food source for nature. Much to the chagrin of a lot of people, I want my plants to be eaten because that shows we've got a healthy habitat going on here. If you have a second, if you're interested in some really great nectar plants, pull out your cell phone and take a picture of this, or I can offer it later to share with you. This list here shows a lot of variety of plants that are blooming in various seasons. These are fairly short plants, so they're not going to overwhelm your gardens. And it's a really great source of nectar for a lot of our pollinators. We want the bees, we really do. Wasps and beetles are good pollinators as well. One of my favorite ones, and this works with bees, absolutely love this. This is swamp milkweed, which is the host for the monarch. You can see in this picture, there is a little baby caterpillar right here. And over here is a big one, a big guy. And this butterfly is nectaring on these swamp milkweeds in my yard. Swamp milkweed grows about 4 feet tall and it tolerates wet soils. It does well in ditches, in rain gardens, along waterways, rivers, creeks, and things like that. But it does like full sun. This one is a great one. It's hard to see down here. This is what it looks like without flower. I'm putting my oops, sorry about that. Putting my pointer around. This is butterfly milkweed. It has a beautiful orange bloom. This likes dry facilities. Deb, out there in Arizona, you're going to see this blooming because this likes dry. It does not like wet. I lost about $200 of these plants because I mulched them, which created too much moisture below them. And they said, sorry, see you later. Bye-bye. And damn, I lost a lot of plants on them. But this will bloom in July and be a long-bearing nectar source for a lot of bees. Here's a sample of another garden. We have Rubickia here, which is a type of sunflower. We have Echinacea or purple coneflower. I see some butterfly milkweed back up in here. You don't need a big spot, just maybe 2 feet by 4 feet, 2 feet by 6 feet, maybe just a little channel along your sidewalk or something, just something to create a little patch for the pollinators. This is a lot bigger garden space. If you have it, great, use it. But if you don't, it doesn't have to be that much. Gerry and I have found marigolds and zinnias, even though those are annuals, are excellent nectars. Not sure what this is, but those purple flowers are. Is that nodding onion? Does anybody know what those purple flowers are? No? Okay. I'm not a plant specialist. I'm a bug specialist. But down here, this is common milkweed. This garden is going gangbusters with common milkweed. And those are all going to be eaten by monarch caterpillars. Here's another flower bed. Does this look messy to you? A lot of people say this looks messy. I think it looks full and lush.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I like. And this would make a nice edging in your yard. You could still keep the center part. The benefit of having all these flowers too, less mowing, friends. Who wants to spend hours mowing or paying somebody to mow for you? The more you set up a cottage garden type environment in your yard, that's going to keep you from doing a lot of time maintenance. Gosh, I wish I knew the names. I believe there's salvia in there, goldenrod, just another sample of gardens. New England aster. This is one that blooms in the fall. It waits all summer to grow. I finally put a couple in my yard last year, and boy, did they were so happy. One thing about native plants, and not the cultivated plants, if you want to make yourself a pollinator garden, please use original native plant, not cultivars. Cultivar names of plants have usually parentheses around the name on either side of the scientific identification. The natives we know have nectar. A lot of the cultivars have been bred and hybridized to make more petals, to make a different color. And during that process, many of them lose their nectar sources. I was privy to a $200,000 garden at where I used to work, and they brought in miniature coneflowers to line a sidewalk. The miniature coneflowers only grew about 12 inches high. Not one bee was sitting on those flowers, not one. And coneflowers are a great pollinator source, but they had hybridized this particular species to make a height that was for humans, not for wildlife. And it might as well have been a plastic flower. It was totally useless for pollinators. Another reason that we like to have different things in the yard is to have the diversity of species. Look at these giant swallowtails. This is the biggest butterfly in North America. I happen to have this little bush over here. It's called a prickly ash. It's one of the natives. But hop trees are also native, and any tree in the citrus family works as a host for this particular butterfly. Aren't they gorgeous? This is the biggest butterfly in North America. This is a newborn baby right here. It's about 2 days old on the prickly ash. These caterpillars, I don't have a picture of it offhand, but when they get big, they look like big pieces of bird dropping. Why? Why would they look like bird dropping? Because they're trying to disguise themselves and not get eaten by birds. I think it's genius. When you look like a bird dropping, a bird's not going to eat you. Other caterpillars you might see, this is something that's really common. If any of you have gardens with any of the carrot family, parsley, dill, fennel, carrots, cilantro, there's another one too, and I can't think. It's like a celery type plant. These big caterpillars over here are black swallowtail caterpillars, and they develop into the black swallowtail. This female, you can remember the female has a blue skirt on. The boys don't. He has 2 lines of yellow. But this is a beautiful butterfly, and it's welcome in our area. This is a spice bush caterpillar. This one, it tries not being eaten by birds by looking like a little snake. See little eye spots? This is the head of it. That does resemble a snake. Many of our birds overwinter in the Central Americas, and in the Central Americas, they have tree snakes. We don't really have tree snakes in North America, but in Central Americas, they have tree snakes, and the birds learn tree snakes are dangerous. So by having this particular caterpillar resemble a snake, it's thought that it is a defense mechanism to not get eaten. Guess what? It doesn't work. This particular caterpillar also takes these leaves and they sew it into a tunnel to make a hiding spot for them. This is a younger one, and it's hard to tell here, but this does look more like a piece of bird dropping. It has the shiny iridescence and the shiny white spots of fresh bird poo. The spice bush that those spice bush caterpillars eat also provide food stock for the Promethea moth. Isn't this a gorgeous piece? It's about half the size of your hand, and they're caterpillars. You'll see the eggs on the little white dots. I have a toothpick there for a scale for you to see. When they're very little, they are yellow and black striped. Now, y'all know Gerry and I are Hawkeyes, so I call these my little Hawkeye caterpillars. And once they do a molt, they turn a black and white, zebra shaped, and then they change into an aqua blue as they continue to grow and develop. Friends, this is bird food. These big, big moths. My hand is over on the side of each of the pictures. You can see in the Luna moth, that's one of our favorite moths that we have, this big, beautiful green one. They will have 2 batches each summer. The cocoon over winter, sleeping, come out in May. They'll breed. They don't even have mouth parts. They just breed and lay eggs. There's some eggs, the Luna and the little black thing, little black spots. The caterpillars come out, start eating leaves. This one particular eats walnut leaves, sumac and such. There's a cocoon in my fingers over there. See the hole? That's where the moth came from. And in the right side panel, that's my hand with one of their big caterpillars. That will feed a lot of baby birds if it's found. The little spikes and stuff on it, again, is supposed to ward off being eaten. Again, it doesn't work. The birds will eat it. They eat oak, maple, lilac. They particularly love wild cherry and apple trees. They make a monster-sized cocoon. They spend 2.5 months eating all summer long. And then in August, they'll make that cocoon. They'll overwinter in the springtime. When the temperatures warm up in May, they'll come out. The males will search out the females, they'll mate, and the female will walk around the tree that she came out of. Usually she has her cocoon right in the tree that she ate when she eating from. So we know that that tree is compatible for her babies to eat, and she'll just start walking around the branches laying eggs. The males will fly up to 10 miles searching for the pheromones of the female that he can smell in the winds. Pretty incredible. They start off really small, tiny little, that toothpick there shows the eggs, and these are newborns, really little, but wild cherry, apple, lilac, box elder, roses, dogwood, they eat a variety of trees. But they won't eat walnut. Lunas eat walnut. So the different variety of Lepidoptera do specialize in different orders of plant life. These happen to be polyphemuses, little babies. That's a lot of bird food, all those little caterpillars. Woolly bears, you know them. They overwinter in the leaf litter in your yard, and in the spring they will cocoon and turn into the Isabella moth there. This particular weed, English plantain, is kind of taking over lawns. However, it's a butterfly host. It hosts buckeye butterflies. The caterpillars on the right, the butterflies on the bottom section there. Oops, sorry, I went backwards. It also hosts painted ladies and Baltimore checker spot butterflies. Baltimore, we were talking to someone earlier, Maryland. Baltimore checker spot is the state butterfly of Maryland, named after Baltimore. Pipevine swallowtails uses a really funky vine, and this one's actually toxic. The butterflies aren't eaten, and the caterpillars aren't eaten more than once by a bird because the plant that they eat is distasteful. So they'll get eaten once, but I think it makes a beautiful butterfly. This is one of Gerry's favorite butterflies, or caterpillars. I think he likes these guys. They're pretty funky, and they're harmless as long as you don't eat them. And I'm not going to. Asters, the one that the butterfly, the monarch is on, this is a host for the pearl crescent. Pearl crescent is a tiny little butterfly. It's pretty common in the gardens. And red admirals use a nettle and I put in false nettle, but they will also use a nettle. I'm not going to have nettle in my yard because I don't want to get burned. Eastern tiger swallowtail, one of our prettiest big butterflies, almost as big as the giant swallowtail. They use oak, tulip trees, maple trees. As long as we have our grand deciduous trees, we'll always have these butterflies. We see them in the spring because they overwinter in their chrysalis, and when the temperatures get warm, they pop out of those chrysalises and start flying around, mating and laying eggs in the summertime. This is an American lady. It's really tiny. I'm just going to skip through this one because you can't hardly even see it. But the point is, different plants create habitat for different critters. We have marigolds, ironweed, butterfly bush. Joe Pye weed is great for damp soils. Being in Michigan, we have a ton of swamp land up here, so I try to focus a lot on wetlands in this region. Greg's mistflower. Greg's mistflower is a southern plant. It's a really good nectar source in the south. Coldflowers, black-eyed Susans. This senna I have in my yard. This bush, it gets about 8 foot tall and 5 foot wide. I have to stake it up because it falls over. It's so heavy. But the leaves, the flowers in here resemble little orchids. And boy, the bees just absolutely love it. It also hosts 3 types of one butterfly and 2 moths. The sulfur, which is a yellow butterfly, and 2 very boring little gray butterflies or moths. But remember, the caterpillars are bird food. This is good. This is good. There's something that we see out here, and this is another, not butterflies or lepidopters, but bugs in general. Woodpeckers are going after bugs. If you see the pileated woodpecker, which we have here in Michigan, they're up to 90% of their diet comes from carpenter ants. So if you have property and you can let the trees stand and get dead, the holes that woodpeckers create are nests for babies and other birds, as well as organisms for the carpenter ants. Fortunately, Gerry and I have 10 acres, so we've got dead wood out in the back and not by the house. Up by the house, we have it cleared. We don't really want dead wood right by the house. We don't want carpenter ants in the house, but we do see these around here, but they are incredibly big, beautiful birds.
That's my favorite bird in Michigan.
And this little thing here, one of my festivals, I had this little girl release a butterfly. The butterfly has a tag on it, and in a second, that butterfly is going to take off. They go when they're ready, not when we ask them to. And off it goes. It's going off to Mexico. That was done in August, and the monarchs themselves will navigate to Mexico. They, interestingly, have magnets in their antenna and in their head. They use the magnetic pole signals to triangulate from the tips of their antenna and their head post, and they can determine after 2 to 3 days which way is north, south, east, and west. Monarch information can be found at monarchwatch.org. I represent them and do a lot of programs with monarchs. Journey North is a lot of fun. If you are feeding, in fact, Gerry, we got to get the hummingbird feeders out. There's hummingbirds posted now in Michigan. The Orioles are on their way, so we'll get the grape jelly out pretty soon. JourneyNorth.org, this website shows the migration of many species: hawks, robins, the monarch, the red admirals. Dragonflies migrate as well. Some species of dragonflies do. But the orioles, hummingbirds, you go into this website and you click on the maps, and will come up a whole listing of images. If you click on, say, a Baltimore Oriole, it will come up with a map and show sightings of the Baltimore Oriole, and then you will know when to set the grape jelly out, because you can see that other people have seen them and they're coming up. Monarch Joint Venture is another source for monarch information. And that's all I've got. That's all I've got. So I hope I've impressed with you why bugs are important, even though we don't like them. I would ask that when you are trying to get rid of mosquitoes, instead of using mosquito fogging in your property, why don't you just use a personal repellent? Because when you spray that insecticide on every bush and leaf in your yard, you're killing the source of food for little frogs, toads, and the birds. And we won't have them. The populations are already being decreased and decimated. But personal repellent, you just put that on yourself. And I honestly, I'm not really big on using personal repellents on my skin. I prefer to just use I'm sorry, just use put it on my clothing, my hair. Your hair is dead, my shoes, socks. But I don't like to put a lot of it on my skin.
It's interesting that you said marigolds, Debbie, because marigolds are actually one of the things they recommend you plant to deter mosquitoes. So that's kind of one of those things that.
And it's an excellent nectar source for the bees and the butterflies. So yeah, put them in there.
Debbie, can you stop sharing? Because then everybody can see
I'm
it a bit
trying to
bigger.
find the screen so I can stop sharing. Yes.
I think every time you figure out where
I'll get
everything
there in a
is in
second.
Zoom, they move it around. It's like the
I'll get
grocery
in a
store.
second. Marigolds, incidentally, are great to plant around all your other garden, your vegetable garden, because they deter other insects.
Yes.
And deer, which is nice.
Yeah, sort of.
I don't know if anything deters
Yeah,
deer.
Jerry's on his way upstairs to help me because I'm illiterate when it comes to computers. And I don't mind saying that. You can't be good at everything.
No, don't say that, because honestly, you could have probably known how to do it 2 weeks ago, and then Zoom moved it. That's how Zoom works.
What happened? Ah, there we go.
Did she stop sharing?
Nope.
Nope.
Isn't it there?
Da, 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 da.
It's slow.
Debbie,
It's okay.
I'm in Sacramento, California, and we have showy milkweed. That's what we
Yes.
plant.
Yes. Showy
One of-
milkweed is wonderful. Midwesterners are more familiar with common milkweed. The showy milkweed has larger blooms. That's why we call them showy, because they're huge, big points on them, big pestils. I don't know where my stop share button is. I've done a lot of programs, but not via Zoom. They're always PowerPoints. You think if you hit share again, it would unshare?
No. Huh. Where's it at?
There's
There it is.
always some fun with
You
this.
found
Oh,
it.
there we go.
No. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that, friends.
No worries, no worries. I actually pulled up that Journey North website because I'm very curious now because with once again coming from Houston to Phoenix, it's like, ooh, what will be in my path? And I'm one of those people, I love the desert landscape, so I'm very excited to learn about the new plants here, and I was saying in the chat, I'm like, I have a massive butterfly bush that I've been growing, and it's got these beautiful purple flowers, and
Yeah.
every day I've got
That's a good nectar source, but it's also not native, believe it or not. It's actually Asian. It's Asian.
I believe it.
Yeah.
What's
and
Asian?
We're trying, in some places it's become encroaching, where it's become one of the invasive species, especially in the northeast of the states. Arizona, though, interestingly, I was in your area a couple of years ago with a friend. We went to the Grand Canyon, and while we were walking around some Indian settlements around Flagstaff, near some of the petroglyphs, we came across a puddle. And as I'm looking, my friend and I were looking mostly for animal tracks in the wet mud of this puddle at this spot, and we were looking for puma, bobcat, deer. And I noticed a whole bunch of brown spots in the ground. And I looked at them and goes, wait a minute, I know what that is. It's the poo of one of the silkworms. And I happened to find a cousin for the big cecropia moths eating some plants that were growing out of that little swampy area. So you have great big moths there. Monarchs have a very particular spot in Arizona. Some of them migrate northwest to the Monterey Coast in California. Some of them
Yes.
migrate southeast to Mexico. I have picked up migration tags put on these monarchs in Arizona when I was in Mexico about 10 years ago. And all the monarchs in the east of the Rockies migrate southwest. So let's figure this out. If the monarch butterfly is east of the Rocky Mountains, it migrates southwest. If they grow up in Arizona, they can go southeast or northwest. If they grow up in Idaho, they go southwest to the Monterey coast. How the heck do they know? We don't know. This is why they're doing studies on this, but they've actually developed just recently the blue morpho tags. This is developed by a small company. These are GPS sensors that weigh, I think, 0.2 grams, and they're gluing them onto the body of the butterfly with a 1-inch antenna over the back of the butterfly, over its abdomen, its tail. And any phone with the downloaded this app, and I've downloaded it, they can now determine where these butterflies are flying by when the butterfly flies by a phone that has Bluetooth sensors. The Bluetooth is getting the receiver off the butterfly and sending it to a central database. And we're tracking
Okay, that's
butterflies.
crazy.
It is amazing. We're tracking butterflies
Absolutely.
coming from Mexico, going through Texas, turning right, heading through Mississippi into Florida, and one turned around and went back to Georgia, which went back to Alabama. It was like, what is this butterfly doing? Some of them went northwest toward Colorado, and then they diverted back east again. But with this tracking, we've never been able to get this defined movement. And I think these kind of sensors are really going to help with birds and other things, because this opens up a whole new world. Sadly, these sensors cost $200 a piece now. So
That's nothing.
the price will come down in time. I'm not doing this, not for $200 a pop. But
In my heyday, Debbie, the stuff that was not micro sized and I was using for all the testing was in the $2,000 to $20,000 a piece. So, and
yeah,
Rory's probably used a lot of that expensive stuff too on the cars.
well, the price is going to come down, and we're going to learn a lot more about the movement of these creatures and others as well. And uh, it's it's new territory for the monarch migration studies. But
It's
does anybody
important stuff. It's important
have,
stuff, Debbie. It really is important stuff. So I'm so glad I learned a lot today.
the monarch really isn't a pollinator. Butterflies in general are not pollinators. They do some pollination, but they're not really the main workers. But what they are is the showcase. People like butterflies. And when I come into programs and do classes and stuff, and I let the little kids hold a caterpillar, or if it times out well, I'll have a butterfly come out of a chrysalis during the presentation. And there's nothing like seeing one being born. Um, if you're interested, you can pull one up on YouTube. There's lots of people have put stacked videos in of them coming out of the chrysalis being born, and speeded up the video so you can see it in 2 minutes instead of 20 minutes, because that's how long it really takes. But they're the showcase. They're the showgirl. They're the canary in the coal mine. Really, we can measure the population of the monarch, but we can't measure the population of so many other insects. And from that lay point, that gives us an idea what's going on there in the insect world.
Fabulous. Any other questions, guys? Anything?
Yeah, this was awesome, Debbie. I posted in the chat. I don't know if you remember my little brother Lee Spangler, Dora's grandson, but he was a master gardener at one point. He can
cool.
tell you what all of those flowers were if you have any questions. He lives
he
lives over by you guys still.
I'm learning piecemeal by piecemeal. I've got a book here. Can you see me? This book here is my
Can't see
friend
it.
wrote this. Can't see it?
No, it
Okay.
pixelizes.
All right. My friend Brenda, wrote a book on how you get butterflies in your garden. You put the host plants in your garden, they come in and lay eggs. And she had so many people ask her, how is she getting so many butterflies in her yard? She ended up writing a book. She got tired explaining it over and over again. But you want to look for a book raising butterflies and moths in the garden, and in the beginning of each section of the butterfly, there'll be pictures of the adults and then a list of the plants that they eat, and then pictures of the eggs and the caterpillars as they grow, and then they're either their chrysalis or their cocoon as they develop. Um, and it's a good layout for, gosh, if you want to see more Luna moss, then grow sumac in your yard. Let it grow along the borders of your property. I would not recommend a walnut tree. They also like hickory trees. Hickories are great. Walnuts are obnoxious. Walnut trees, sadly, we found out they're extremely acidic and they pretty much kill other plants around them because of the high acidic level of the root base. A friend of mine had some in her farm, and she was putting apple trees within the root perimeter of the walnut trees. The apple trees kept dying. She found out later it was the acidic level of the roots, exuded, were killing her fruit trees. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. And walnuts, the fruit of walnuts are messy, just messy.
Walnuts are not considered a good yard tree.
No.
Neither are tulip trees. We were not, Deb. So
Oh, well, we have one.
yeah, the thing just showed up. I don't know how that happened.
Well, it was my Mother's Day gift from our daughter.
Uh,
Oops. Well, this was really, really interesting. I'm so pleased that you came and spoke to us today. This was a lot of great information. I'm going to go play on that Journey North website because I'm very curious
It
now,
it's
especially about
really
things that may be coming through my
right.
entirely new environment. So,
They track the hawks, they track the bluebirds, they track the robins. I mean, all these animals are being tracked on that website. Whatever one that you're curious about. It's citizen science. And this I found out that the scientists actually do go to that citizen science website and use data from them in their studies. So we encourage people to create a login, and it's not the kind of thing that sends you spam and begs you for money every 10 minutes. Okay. It's not like that at all. I get so annoyed when, you try to do good and then you get pestered for the end of your days from some charity. Um, but this nonprofit, Journey North, is run by, I think it's University of Wisconsin nowadays, or University of Minnesota. Maybe University of Minnesota now. They're sponsoring it. Monarch Watch is sponsored by University of Kansas, so that these are university, based nonprofits. You can know that it's good data. I might
I will
have
tell
some
you,
people lie, but
Minnesota has an amazing raptor program. If
do
you're
they?
ever up there, when I lived up there, I lived up there for a couple years, and it was amazing to watch the people bringing the raptors. They would find them injured and things like that, and it was amazing to watch this how they rehabilitated them, and then the releases are really cool.
Right,
It's some pretty wild stuff,
right.
but yeah, that Minnesota does quite a bit, very much into their natural resources, which was a lot of fun to learn about when I was there. But well, excellent. Well, as long as everyone is good, I think we can wrap up tonight's meeting. Do I have a volunteer for the 4-way test, 5-way test, 6-way test, whatever
Can
test we're doing today?
I ask a quick question before we do?
Of course.
Is there
Absolutely.
an app that you can download to participate in the tracking of those little butterflies that have the little tiny
Yeah, let me
device on them?
look it up for you. Okay, I've got it on my phone.
Actually,
Um,
Ward, you can join the
it's
and use sightings at the Journey North website too.
Okay.
Now, Deb, while Debbie is looking it up, in Phoenix, there's a desert botanical garden
I
south
cannot
of
wait.
Scottsdale, between Scottsdale and
Okay.
Tempe. You may get
And
some
what's funny
ideas.
is every year I used to go up to Las Vegas. Whenever I'm in Vegas, one of the things I do, the FLM Chocolate Company on their property, they actually have an enormous cactus garden, and they've brought cactuses from all over the world. And it is an absolute, you get to eat chocolate. You get to go have some chocolate, and then you can walk in the gardens. And at Christmas time, they decorate it up with thousands upon thousands of lights. They have this whole big to do out there, and it's a really great experience. So it's like, ooh, I can look back on things and try and embrace them. And it's really funny because my barrel cactus, I left town and it had grown flowers and they hadn't opened yet. And of course, my house sitter sent me pictures of them open. I'm like, yeah, I knew it. I wasn't going to be here to see these things actually, come to fruition. And I love cactuses. I love succulents. I love all that stuff. So it's going to be very exciting to see how this all plays out. All right, who's going to be my four-way test victim today? Come on, Keith, George,
I'll go.
somebody.
I'll go.
Oh, okay, go.
Test. The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, will it be fun?
Be fun. Well, excellent. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. And I look forward to seeing you all in a week. I think we're going to do happy hour next week. Is that it? That should be where we're at.
Yeah, it'll be
So I have
happy
a happy
hour.
hour
Actually,
meeting.
I won't be on next week, so somebody else will have to host, but we don't record those anyway, so it'll be fine.
Never record
I'm going to be at the
that.
district conference. I'm going to be at the past district
Oh,
governor's dinner that night.
that's
So
right.
it's
That's
a night of
right.
bitching for me.
Ha ha ha.
Good old district
Well,
governor's dinner.
wonderful.
Just a question.
Safe travels, please.
Just a question. Ward, did you see the app in the chat box? Got it. Okay.
I did.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Gerry,
Debbie,
I'll see you next week.
Okay, looking
Excellent.
forward to it. I'm going to
Thanks
meet
so
you at the
much.
conference, right? I don't have to. Yeah, we've got a place for your motorcycle evidently to store, and then they
Right.
can haul you around or whatever. So we'll be
Okay,
good.
no problem.
Awesome. Well, you
I think
guys
we're
Wonderful.
gonna
Can't wait to hear about
this
how that conference goes.
this conference has really turned out to be really cool. So I think you'll enjoy it, Keith.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
All right. Excellent. Thank
Good
you
night,
all. Have a
everybody.
good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.